Good evening and welcome. You are watching Primetime News on TV1, bringing you the news. I'm Tarusha Kumar Singha. Up first in your headlines. Quarantine curfew extended till the 1st of October. Children between 15 and 19 years to be vaccinated. Harmful bacteria identified in a fertilizer sample imported from China.
දැන් ඔයිට කලිනුත් පොහොර ලංකාවට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ප්‍රමිතිය නැති වුණාම නැව ආපහු යවනවා. එච්චරයි. කලබල වෙන්න ඕනේ නැහැ.
Increasing paddy prices plague farmers after fertilizer crisis.
මාස 6ක් මේ සරමක් ගන්න අපි අකන්න දෙකට සරයක් අපි මේ සරමක් ගන්න වත්කමක් නැහැ.
Police on alert for individuals who threaten teachers conducting online lectures.
තර්ජනය කර තිබොත් යම් වෙනත් බලපෑමක් කර තිබොත් ඔවුන්ට ආයේ කිසිම සමාවක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
කිසිම කෙනෙකුට තර්ජනයක් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. ඔක්කොම අල්ලා ස්වේච්ඡාවෙන් මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය අපි ඉන්නේ.
Rock quarry inside the Wild Elephant Management Reserve damages an archaeological site. Top story tonight. The COVID-19 committee chaired by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today decided to extend the quarantine curfew currently in effect in the country until 4 a.m. on the 1st of October.
The decision to extend the quarantine curfew was taken today with a consensus that the quarantine curfew would be lifted on the 1st of next month. The discussions that were held on Zoom also focused on vaccinating children.
15 ඉඳලා 19 දක්වා අයට එන්නත ලබා දීම ගැන මොකක් හරි තීරණයක් ගත්තද? තීරණය කරේ සර් ඉස්සෙල්ලා.
Children between the age of 12 and 18 who are suffering comorbidities will be administered with the vaccine first, and then we will move downwards from there on.
අපි එතනින් පස්සේ පල්ලෙහාට එමු කියලා පළවෙනි දේ තමයි ඒකේ දැනට recommendations කියන්නේ Pfizer vaccine එකට කියන එක decide කරා. 19න් 15 අපි ගහන්නේ Pfizer.
Immunity level එක බැලුවාම
when we look at the immunity level of the Pfizer vaccine that begins at 88% will reduce to 74% within 5 months. The AstraZeneca vaccine's immunity level begins at 77% and drops to 67%. No vaccine has been identified as a super vaccine by the WHO.
දාණයෙන්වත් එහෙම කීමක් නැහැ.
Some misinformation has spread that people who receive the vaccine will suffer sexual impotency. We need to conduct a campaign to clarify this matter to the general public. Public health inspectors have been vested with the responsibility to provide guidance for rural schools with less than 200 children to reopen and to assist small and medium-scale businessmen to operate their businesses without any hindrance.
Our growth rate in 2021 hit an all-time high. We dropped very low in the second quarter of last year. This time we have risen.
Health sector officials point out that the country cannot be reopened if the number of COVID-19 infections cannot be maintained at a low level. The spread of the virus has been controlled to a certain extent. There was a large number of cases reported in the past, but that number has reduced. But we are still facing a risk. The challenge is that even when the country is under lockdown, the general public are acting like the country is open. This is an issue with our community. Not all countries are the same, and not all communities are the same.
Did the vaccination drive have an effect on the reduction in the number of infections?
We do see a large drop. There is also a relative drop in the number of patients suffering serious complications. There is also a reduction in the number of patients who die of COVID-19. In the future, if we can reduce the case fatality rate, that can be attributed to the vaccination drive.
Was there a reduction in the number of PCR tests?
The government has only conducted 9,672 PCR tests yesterday. The number of infections reported reduced by 50%. On the 22nd of August, 28,000 PCR and rapid antigen tests were conducted in the country. Today, when you add the 9,672 PCR tests and the rapid antigen tests, there is only a total of about 13,000 tests conducted in the country. So with that, the number of infections in the country should also reduce by 50%. It has dropped to about 2,300 or 2,400. We would like to question the government as to if there is a point in reducing the number of tests and then creating a reduction in the number of infections.
The excise department says that wine stores and other outlets that sell beer bottles and cans are permitted to remain open from today. This was the situation that arose.
Minister of Agriculture confirmed today that a microorganism identified as Erwinia was discovered in samples brought down unofficially to Sri Lanka for testing purposes.
3 days ago, on the 14th of this month, Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage assured that organic fertilizer imported into the country will not have any pathogenic microorganisms that are harmful to animals, plants and humans. Issuing a statement, the Ministry of Agriculture said that reports of such pathogenic microorganisms being discovered circulating on social media were false. The Ministry of Agriculture requested the public not to have any unfounded fears of using organic fertilizer imported to the country. However, this is what Minister of Agriculture Mahindananda Alutgamage said at a media briefing today.
An independent laboratory has been named by the SLSI. According to the tests conducted by this laboratory, it has been confirmed that these microorganisms are not present in these stocks of fertilizer. In the meantime, we brought down some samples of fertilizer unofficially from these companies so that we can test them. Our ministry has some issues over how these stocks of fertilizer were brought down to the country and distributed. The fertilizer came in a plastic bag. Anyone can change these samples completely by injecting something into it. When we tested these samples of fertilizer that we brought unofficially, we identified the microorganism Erwinia. Fertilizer with such a microorganism is not suitable for our potato, pumpkin and carrot cultivations. It can affect these cultivations. We will not allow for fertilizer containing such microorganisms to be imported. They have sent us another sample and we are testing it. This is a very large transaction and I expect to send a letter to the CID to investigate this matter.
ලිම්පියක් යවන්න මේ පොහොර පිළිබඳ මේ වෙච් එක ගැන මම CID කළාලා පරීක්ෂණයකුත් පවත්වන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Erwinia නැමැති මේක ඉදිරියේ සාපා පියක් ගන්නවා.
අපි ගත්
There is an issue with the samples that we obtained. The Colombo University that tested the sample said that the organism was not there in that sample and it was only found in the sample that was quarantined. We got 9 samples and we sent 2 samples.
අපිට සාම්පල් 9ක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. අපි සාම්පල්ස් දෙකක් තමයි යවලා තියෙන්නේ.
දැන් මේ වෙනකොට ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ මේ සාම්පල් යොදලා බිමට යොදලා
දැනට බතලේගොඩ
We are using the samples in Battalegoda. Even before fertilizer had been brought to Sri Lanka, oil had been brought to Sri Lanka. When the stocks are not up to standards, the stocks are sent back. So there is no need to panic.
The minister also spoke of the Chinese company that has been selected to import organic fertilizer and the manner in which the fertilizer is being imported.
We will not bring garbage or feces to Sri Lanka. All of this fertilizer has been manufactured using aquatic plants. All of this fertilizer will not be brought down at once. We will import it in 5 consignments. We will first bring down 20,000 metric tons. This company has given the ministry an advance payment of $5 million. We have followed the proper tender procedure.
නියම ටෙන්ඩර් පටිපාටියට මේක අනුගමනය කරලා තියෙනවා.
ඒතර මේ ගෙන ආ සාම්පල සහ ඒ එන්න නියමිත පොහොර අතරේ සම්බන්ධයක් තියෙනවද මේ එකම සමාගම සහ ඊට අදාළ ඒ චීන සමාගමේවද?
මේකේ එකම සමාගම මේක අතරමැදියෝ නැහැ. ඒ සමාගමමයි ගේන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා මේ ගේන පොහොර දැනටමත් ඒ චීන හාබර් එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඉදිරියේදී නැව් වෙනවනේ වරායට. ඒ ආවට පස්සේ ඒව අකණ්ඩව පරීක්ෂා කිරීමේ ක්‍රමවේදයක් තියෙනවද?
අපි ආපුවම පොහොර බලන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ රැන්ඩම් අපි සාම්පල්ස් කරලා දින 5ක් බලලා ඒ ලැබ් ටෙස්ට් රිපෝට්ස් වලින් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැත්තම් විතරයි අපි පොහොර බලන්න අවසර දෙන්නේ.
මේ පොහොර ගෙන්වීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය සිදු වෙන්නේ පෞද්ගලික සමාගම් හරහාද?
පෞද්ගලික සමාගම්.
දැන් ඔබතුමා කිව්වා දැන් ශේෂ්ත්‍ර පරීක්ෂණ වල බතලගොඩට මේ සාම්පල් යොදාගෙන තියෙනවා කියලා. අවදානම ඇයි ගත්තේ මේ රටේ ශේෂ්ත්‍රය තුලට මේ වගේ විෂ බීජයක් තියෙන බව යම් විදියකින් එක පරීක්ෂණයකින් හරි තහවුරු වුණු සාම්පලයක් යොදාගෙන ඒක අවදානමක් කරනවා.
ශේෂ්ත්‍රයට නෙමෙයි අපි කරන්නේ අපේ රිසර්ච් එකේ. ශේෂ්ත්‍රයට දාලා නැහැ. අපි කරන්නේ බතලගොඩ රිසර්ච් එකේ.
අරතලක කොච්චර මුදලක් යනවද කියන්නේ විදමක් යනවද මේ කාබනික පොහොර ගෙන්නන්න?
US මිලියන 63ක්.
මේ කාබනික පොහොර පළවෙනි තෝගේ කවද්ද ලංකාවට එන්න නියමිතව තියෙන්නේ?
මේක එන්න තිබ්බේ සැප්තැම්බර් මාසේ.
This should have been brought to the island on the 20th of September. As the international lab reports didn't come in, and because there was a problem like that, we didn't bring the ship from the Chinese port for 15 days.
How did a Chinese company obtain the tender to supply organic fertilizer to the entire country?
Out of the last 4 companies, this was the company which could give us the sufficient amount of fertilizer. These procurements have been done with the highest quality. If any issue comes up in the report, a decision will be reached after bringing back the independent surveyor who was appointed initially. Then steps will be taken to send back the stock of fertilizer that is deemed unsuitable. But before sending the stock of fertilizer back to China, a shipment of fertilizer with the promised quality will enter the country. Those are the conditions that have been reached in the procurement process.
How will the new macroorganism found in imported fertilizer affect the agriculture sector of the country? Professor of Plant Pathology of the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Ruhuna, Nalika Ranatunga, expressed her views regarding this matter.
I view this as a serious threat posed to the agriculture sector of the country. The bacterial rot disease is caused by Erwinia. There is a possibility of vegetables and other crops being in great danger due to this bacteria. Already the disease is known as the bacterial soft rot and is seen in Sri Lanka due to Erwinia. But by introducing a new variant of Erwinia to the soil in Sri Lanka, there will be no natural opponents to fight this bacteria. Because of that bacterial soft rot caused by Erwinia, it will develop further and cause great harm to our vegetables and other crops.
The company in question is a Chinese company. We are importing Chinese organic fertilizer, the same ones that have been rejected. Therefore, a fair suspicion arises whether we are fulfilling a need of China. On the one hand, all the national resources of our country are being given to the Chinese. Our lands are being given to the Chinese. We have everything they ask for. In return, China asked for this, and we gave it to them on a platter. The fertilizer contract has also been reached with China. Is this government trying to transform our country into a Chinese colony? These rulers have no right to fulfill the needs of another country or serve another country in the guise of implementing an organic farming era.
The fertilizer crisis had pushed farmers to a point where they had almost given up on their cultivations. Adding insult to injury, the absence of a proper price for the paddy stocks produced by these farmers has now made their lives even worse. Farmers in Sevagama Tract 9 took to the streets today as a plea for their help.
අද නාඩු වලට රුපියල් 65ක්වත් කිලෝ එකකට අවශ්‍යයි. නැත්නම් මේ කොහොමද ගොවියා මේ ගොඩ යන්නේ? 65ක් ගන්න කෙනෙක් නැහැ. අපිට හොඳ බිමක් සරු පසක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. අපිට ප්‍රතිලාභ අරන් දෙනවා නම් මෙව්වත් එක්ක අපි හැප්පෙන්න හරි ආසයි. මේ බතය සපයන ගොවියට ඇයි මෙහෙම කරන්නේ? ගහෙන් ගෙඩියන වගේ අපේ කුස්කර්ම ඇමති මහින්දානන්ද අලුත්ගම ඇමතුමා දැකත් තියෙනකොටම රජය පාලන මිල දැම්මා. මේක වැරදි. පාලන මිල දාන්න එපා. මේ වී වලට මේ අහිංසක මිනිසුන්ගේ වී මිලට මේවා මාස 6ක් මේ සරමක් ගන්න අපි අඛණ්ඩ දෙකට සැරයක් අපි මේ සරමක් ගන්න. සරමක් ගන්න වත්කමක් නැහැ. අපි මේ ජීවත් වෙන්න අපේ ළමයිනුත් එක්ක ලෑස්ති වෙන්නේ උගන්නගෙන. ආයි අපිට මෙහෙම කරන්න රජය අපි වත් කරගත රජය අපිට මේ මහ ජනතාවට මේ ආණ්ඩුව දැන් එපා වීගෙන යනවා.
At a time when there is no fair price for paddy and no water for the cultivation of farmers, farmers' organizations raised concerns on the possible destruction of banks of wavers. Farmers of Kandalama convened a media briefing in Kakirawa and expressed these views.
Kings built thousands of wavers for farming and not to construct jogging tracks along the banks of these wavers. Now jogging tracks are being constructed along the banks of the waver, but there is no one to look into the plight of farmers. There is no one to look into the prices of paddy for these farmers. There is no discussion on giving farmers a stable income. We spend between 70 to 80,000 rupees to cultivate an acre. We need 65 rupees for a kilogram of nadu, 75 rupees for a kilo of samba, and we need 90 rupees for a kilo of kiri samba. If we don't get these prices, we will not sell a single grain of our rice to anyone. We will leave these stocks of rice to rot.
Farmers in Kantale convened a media briefing yesterday and spoke about their plight.
සුමාන දෙක තුනකින් වැස්ස පටන් ගන්නවා.
The rain will start in 2 to 3 weeks and the farmers will have to begin their cultivations. We are trying to prepare for this by placing some cow dung and branches of trees. But when we don't have the basic requirements for our cultivations, farmers will be left helpless on their fields. We are not asking for chemical fertilizer to be given to us tomorrow and for the authorities to abandon all of these plans. Give us a suitable organic fertilizer. We do not want money and we never asked for money.
The farmers pointed out their problems to State Minister Siripala Gamlath, who participated in the inauguration of the Kantale Suryapura Irrigation Canal Development Program today under the Irrigation Prosperity Program.
We can only cultivate during one season if you consider Digavapi. That too is affected by floods as a result of the issues in the canal. There is no system to irrigate the cultivation. You can see it when you go there. There is no point in sending officials. This is like traveling to another country. There is no place to live in. We do not even have the basic infrastructure. We do not have water to drink. Inquire personally if the farmers sold paddy. We dried the paddy. We will not allow the government to do as they please. We will dry the paddy and store it. We do not want to sell it for cheap. We toil hard for this harvest. There is no plan yet for the irrigation system. Make the plan for 10 years. There is no plan. There is no system. We cultivate, but we can't continue like this.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has called on the government to provide immediate solution to prevent farmers from moving away from agriculture and to address the deteriorating living standards of farmers. A statement issued by the leader of opposition states that the farmers are preparing for the harvesting season with great disappointment in the face of the current situation. The opposition leader said that the government has not been able to understand the problems of the farming community, adding that this is not a positive intervention on behalf of farmers. The leader of the opposition further points out that although many countries in the world that are struggling with the pandemic have given priority to health and food security, the Sri Lankan government has ignored both.
The human-elephant conflict in the country has not only compounded the woes of those in rural Sri Lanka, but has caused irreplaceable loss of life, both man and creature. The following is a report on how a 1-year-old infant almost fell prey to the jaws of death in the form of a wild elephant attack. Unfortunately, however, the infant's house was completely destroyed in the process.
Sleepless nights are common practice for the residents of Hasalaka, located in the border of the Central and Uva provinces, falling under the purview of the Minipe Divisional Secretariat. Their sleepless nights are mainly attributed to marauding elephants who encroach on their village in search of something to eat. Elephants encroach on the Kongolla village in Ulpatagama, Hasalaka, to feed on paddy lands. Unfortunately, the elephants often leave a trail of destruction in their search of food. Last night, the herd of hungry elephants razed the entire house to the ground while wandering towards a paddy field. One of the elephants uprooted a tree which collapsed onto the room where the infant was asleep. Within seconds, the walls of the room gave way and collapsed onto the infant's bed. Miraculously, the infant survived against all odds. Thankfully, vigilant neighbors were quick to chase away the herd of elephants and came to the aid of the residents, but not before the elephants completely destroyed their home. Although this incident occurred last night and authorities have been informed since, not a single officer from the Department of Wildlife has visited the scene.
මේක රජයට එක්කෝ කියන්න ඕන එක්කෝ වනජීවියකට කියන්න ඕන මේ ලක්ම හැමදාම එනවනේ අලි මිනිස්සු මැරෙනවා අහිංසක මිනිස්සු මේක.
Will there ever come a day where the residents of Hassanaka get a good night's rest instead of living in constant fear for their lives?
On that somber note, let me direct your attention as to what happened at the Anuradhapura prison recently. State Minister Lohan Ratwata broke his silence and spoke to Newsfirst on the authenticity of the details circulating on social media.
Former State Minister of Prisons Management and Prisoners Rehabilitation Management, Lohan Ratwata, stepped down from his portfolio on the 15th of this month after taking responsibility for the incidents that took place at the Valikada and Anuradhapura prisons. State Minister Lohan Ratwata expressed his views on the allegations today.
I stepped down from my portfolio, giving space to the authorities to carry out their investigations into the matter. I would not like to make further comments until the reports from the investigations are released. There are 29 prisons and 2 rehabilitation centres, adding up to a total of 31 centres in the country. I have visited all of these centres and I have never been under the influence of alcohol while I visited these locations. Firearms are not allowed inside prison premises. Even prison officials cannot take firearms into the prisons. I don't even take my cell phone inside the prison premises. This is a campaign to sling mud at me. I don't know who is behind this. I have not done anything like this. I have handed over the portfolio of prisons management when the prisons were in chaos. I managed to bring the situation under control and re-establish the prisons as rehabilitation centres. There were 33,000 prisoners when I took over the ministry and I reduced that number to 19,000 prisoners.
Was CCTV footage deleted?
CCTV footage cannot be deleted. If there was an incident like that, they should release the CCTV footage.
The Samagi Jana Balavegya requested the Inspector General of Police to take immediate action against the conduct of Lohan Ratwata. Parliamentarians representing the SJB handed over a written complaint to the police headquarters.
Meanwhile, a prisoner arrested under the Prevention of Terrorism Act was released by the Colombo Magistrates Court yesterday. Nadesu Kohodasan, a resident of Pudukudiripu, Mullaitivu, has been released in this manner. He surrendered to the Sri Lanka Army in 2009 and was later rehabilitated and released. He was re-arrested in 2013 and was held in custody until yesterday.
We are crossing over to a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back.
Do your online shopping with Sambole.lk. Home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Minister of Public Security retired Rear Admiral Dr. Sarath Weerasekara has announced that individuals have reportedly threatened teachers conducting online lectures.
Teachers
from a number of leading schools visited me yesterday. They said they continue to conduct online classes for their students regardless of the protest stage in the country. They said teachers have been receiving death threats from individuals behind the protests. I have provided the crimes unit with the telephone numbers from which these teachers had received such threats. Action will be taken against those individuals immediately. Those behind these threats will not be pardoned.
Who is behind the threats received by teachers conducting online classes?
They are now trying to find out if the teachers are being threatened. With great responsibility, I say 247,000 teachers and 16,000 principals unite together in this struggle. There is no need to threaten anyone. Everyone is voluntarily involved in this. These are conspiracies of the government. Instead of forming conspiracies, they should provide a solution to this problem. The Ministry of Education provided scholarships from the UK worth 8 million rupees to individuals involved in academic administration. If they have money to do things that are not necessary at this moment, why can't they use that money to solve this problem? That is our concern. They claim that they do not have enough funds. But how do they have funds to build 200 houses for ministers under the Viatpura housing project? How do they have funds to carry out other government projects? I saw that the Minister of Agriculture said the government will provide 10,000 tabs to develop the agriculture sector in the country. If those in the agriculture sector are being provided tabs, are students going to be provided with memories?
There were issues surrounding the request and we settled them. We announced that the budgetary allocations for the salary hike will be made in the November budget. They wanted this to be a closed service and we decided to gazette that as well. We are providing an allowance of 5,000 rupees. We did not stop the salary of any teacher. There are additional problems that the teachers face. We have appointed a special committee to solve the issues within 6 months.
Are there no funds to pay the salaries of teachers? If so, does the statement made by Minister Johnston Fernando during this morning's roadside planting project on the section from W.A.D. Silva Mawatha to the Pamankada Bridge apply to teachers as well?
There is money. If not, how can we pay the salaries of the state employees who are currently at home? How are we paying the overtime payments? It's the previous government that had monetary problems. They were bankrupt, not us. Even today, we are paying the salaries of state employees on time. If we are unable to do so, that's when we have a monetary problem. No money means bankruptcy.
Minister of Power Gamini Lokuge says there is a difficulty in maintaining the CEB if money is not received soon.
We are in a lot of trouble today with our electricity bills. We should receive about 44 billion a month. We have not received it this month as well. We have stopped disconnecting the power. We are economically affected if we are to continue in this manner. There is about 44 billion rupees in bills due. We should collect at least 22 billion monthly. We are not going to charge an interest on it as well. We can make a 12% supplementary allocation, but the people are not paying their bills.
The Samagi Jana Balawege today lodged a complaint with the CID requesting an inquiry into the warning issued by Venerable Galabodatte Gnanasara Thero regarding a possible terrorist attack in the future.
Gnanasara Thero had recently made a statement to the media regarding a terrorist attack in this country. He mentioned various things about it. Therefore, we clearly request the CID to conduct a comprehensive investigation and take necessary steps to ensure the national security of the country and the security of the people if such an incident occurs. Similar statements were made regarding the April 21st attacks. Intelligence reports were available and they were neglected. It has become clear to us that our Gnanasara Thero knows more information than the intelligence. Therefore, we hope that through him, we will be able to avoid a devastation in the country.
If there is a person who is engaged in any extremist activities, we request that the law be strictly enforced against them. People of our country cannot suffer another attack like the April 21st attack. In the middle of this pandemic and our economic struggles, we do not have the strength to suffer an attack like that. People who are living in areas under lockdown have no food to eat. We request for the law to be enforced if there is any crime. The Muslim community of the country is dedicated towards coexistence in the country. Venerable Thero had made a statement that there is a possibility of another attack. We have informed the IGP regarding this. An investigation must be conducted into this matter. We will stand for the national security of the country.
නමුත් මුස්ලිම් ජනයා මේ රටේ සහජීවනයේ වෙනුවෙන් එකට අපි වාඩි වෙමු.
මෙහෙමයි දැන් රජයක් විදියට අපි කොයි වෙලෙත් ජාතික ආරක්ෂා.
As a government, we have always stood on high alert regarding national security. The President is going to the UN General Assembly and he will hand over the responsibility for the security of the country to a competent person. The intelligence, the three armed forces and the police are always on alert. After President Rajapaksa came into power, he has paid increased attention to national security.
ආබේ රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා බලයට පත් වුණාට පස්සෙත් ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් වැඩි අවධානයක් දීලා කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා.
Crime Watch. The Colombo Crimes Division has revealed that the hand grenade found in the washroom of a private hospital in Narayanpeta was stolen from the official residence of a former minister. The relevant official residence has been searched to confirm the information received from the suspect, but the house is now occupied by another minister. It is said that the minister who was present when the bomb was stolen has recently passed away. According to the Colombo Crimes Division, the suspect had been taken to the Mahava area and 15 bullets used for training 5 bullets used in a 9mm pistol and 10 ammunition used in a revolver were recovered, hidden in the backyard of a house. It is also reported that another person who was with the suspect had brought the ammunition. The two suspects are being held under the Prevention of Terrorism Act and are being questioned currently.
Crime Watch.
The issue now is that the tourism sector in our country collapsed after the COVID-19 outbreak, and this is the time to begin to attract at least some tourists to the country. It is a time in which there could be a boost in the tourism sector of the country. When there are media reports on statements that there is a possibility of another attack in the country, and when hand grenades are found in leading hospitals in the country, will any of the tourists wanting to come to Sri Lanka travel here? There's a massive question on national security. Our country will get at least some breathing space in the future through the tourism industry. We can earn dollars through this industry. The government must give some more thought to this matter.
Now, the most recent incident that highlighted the importance of national security in the country was the data wipe of the NMRA. Sensitive information of the NMRA on the government cloud was wiped clean recently, and the mastermind behind this incident has not yet been identified.
The data scam.
There is much controversy surrounding the deletion of data of the NMRA on the government cloud that is managed by the ICTA. What happened after the company named Epic revealed that on the 9th of July, data of the NMRA on the Lanka government cloud was deleted by one of their engineers by accident. The Lanka government cloud is public property. It contains sensitive information affecting the security of the entire nation. How surprising is it that charges were not filed under the Public Property Act even when such sensitive information belonging to us all were wiped clean.
The data scam.
Deletion of data, which is a government property that has financial value, is definitely an offence that falls under the Public Property Act. But unfortunately, when the police were making submissions in court, it was said that there was only a suspicion against the defendant. This shows that they have been very lenient, and there are suspicions as to if they arrested the true suspect. It seems as if this is done simply to suppress public pressure. When a B report is presented with regard to an offence under the Public Property Act, the suspect will not be granted bail. The suspect will have to be held in custody until bail is granted by a higher court. Is the engineer who is responsible for deleting sensitive data on the Lanka government cloud the mystery man in this debacle? Who is this engineer? Details of this engineer have not been revealed. Did the scammer manipulate this engineer? What did he do? And what does he do now? They are trying to say that the delete button was pressed by this individual by accident. Even we are aware that if we accidentally delete a number off a phone, there's a pop-up that asks us, "Are you sure?" So this cannot be a mistake. Did he do this to benefit someone involved in the pharmaceutical industry? Investigations must be conducted into this. Who is he? Why is information on him not being revealed? Is he being hidden in fear that the mastermind behind all of this might be revealed? If people begin to die, who will be held responsible for this? This had happened because of a mistake of an engineer. Details of this person has not been given to the public. Who is this person? This is not an ordinary incident. This cannot be brushed off as a mistake. Please take steps to punish these individuals. Reveal the details of this engineer to the public and take legal action against him. During the last few years, we saw low standard medicine being brought to the island and medicine which are a mismatch for their prices being imported. I believe that if the law is being enforced, all of those involved should have been questioned. Also, a mechanism must be set up where those involved in this can be arrested. This is a crime that amounts in the billions and not in millions. This government is very talented in deleting things. We wonder why the CID cannot act on this. When Asela Sampath made a statement on the vaccines, he was taken to the CID in 24 hours while he was dressed in his sarong. But the CID does not have the same efficiency when it comes to capturing the mastermind behind the data scam. We would like to question how the government, who cannot find the mastermind behind the data wipe of the NMRA from the government's very own cloud, find the masterminds of the April 21st attacks. The public were not of the opinion that the price of antigen test kits was too high. With the deletion of this data from the government cloud, if there were other companies who had applied to bring down quality antigen test kits at a lower price, now their details cannot be found. Also, since the details of companies that brought down other medicine is also lost, the antigen man has the capability to bring down other medicines as well and create a mafia here. Officials at the ICTA, who are public servants, who are paid hundreds of thousands of rupees, have committed a serious crime here. They must be punished. The people must stand against these thefts that are taking place in broad daylight. The data that was lost relate to the daily medical needs of the general public. The government must definitely investigate this matter, reveal the people involved in this to the country and punish them.
හොයලා රටට කීම සහ ඔවුන්ට දඬුවම් ලබා දීම මං හිතන්නේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම සිදුවිය යුතුයි. මම පෞද්ගලිකව 2000
I personally filed a complaint against the corruption taking place at the National Medicines Regulatory Authority on the 5th of April 2021. While the investigations into this complaint are being conducted, they have intentionally destroyed information pertaining to this investigation. If there is a person who is well connected, that he can delete this information while the CID is investigating it, such people must be punished regardless of their positions. Not only the companies involved in this, but politicians who are behind these companies must also be punished.
The data scam.
Meanwhile, the leader of the United National Party parliamentarian Ranil Wickremesinghe, speaking at a webinar this evening, said it would take at least 20 years for Sri Lanka to be a developed nation.
The webinar, titled Learn to Play the Game, was held in commemoration of the 115th birth anniversary of late President J.R. Jayawardena.
If we start now itself, we can become a developed nation in 20 years. The first 5 years would be difficult, but now is when we need to start. We are embarking on a massive transitional period globally. We have to capitalize on that and move forward. We can double our per capita income to the GDP in another 8 years. In 16 years, it will be increased to 4 times more. So in 20 years, we will have 5 times the per capita income. That way, in another 10 years of time, we will be able to see how strong our country is. That is what late President JR also said. You cannot transform a country in 5 years. Look at countries like China and Japan. Even India will take another 15 to 20 years to get back on track. When we were children, Singaporean nationals used to come and work at the port. Now our people are domestic workers at their homes.
Making headlines tonight, information has come to light that an archaeological site within the Hambantota Wild Elephant Management Reserve is being destroyed due to a stone quarry operating in the area.
Newsfirst reached the mountain that is said to be of archaeological importance after travelling about 2 kilometers into the reserve from Alella in Hambantota. Our teams noticed that these places, which hold high archaeological value, have been taken over by racketeers. Our team spotted illegal cultivations within the reserve as well. We have come to know that an Aramaya belonging to the first Anuradhapura era had been constructed here. Ruins of this construction are located across 100 acres of land. There are several ruins that are yet to be identified. There are stupas, ponds and several stages. We are requesting the Mahaveli authority to separate this area for us. When the Mahaveli authority grants us the approval, this area can be converted into an archaeological reserve.
Australia shrugged off Chinese anger over its decision to acquire American nuclear-powered submarines and vowed to defend the rule of law in airspace and waters where Beijing has staked multiple hotly contested claims.
The US and UK are facing growing international criticism over a new security pact signed with Australia. The deal, seen as an effort to counter China, will see the US and UK give Australia the technology to build nuclear-powered submarines. But the move angered France, which said it had been, quote, stabbed in the back, unquote, while China accused the three powers of having a Cold War mentality. The pact also raises fears that it would provoke China into a war. The alliance, known as AUKUS, was announced by US President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his Australian counterpart Scott Morrison. While they did not mention China, AUKUS is being widely viewed as an effort to counter Beijing's influence in the contested South China Sea. Meanwhile, China has applied to join a key Asia-Pacific trade pact as it attempts to strengthen its position in the region. The pact that eventually became the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership was created by the US to counter China's influence. However, former President Donald Trump pulled the US out of it in 2017. Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao said the world's second-largest economy has submitted its application to join the free trade agreement in a letter to New Zealand's Trade Minister Damien O'Connor.
In some tragic news from overseas, Sir Clive Sinclair, the inventor and entrepreneur who was instrumental in bringing home computers to the masses, has died at the age of 81.
Sinclair invented the pocket calculator but was best known for popularizing the home computer, bringing it to British high street stores at relatively affordable prices. Born in Surrey, England in 1940, Sinclair found success in the 70s, inventing and developing electronic calculators through his company Sinclair Radionics. He later formed Science of Cambridge, where in 1979 he set out to revolutionize home computing by making an affordable product to rival the expensive personal computers that existed at the time. Many modern-day titans in the games industry got their start on one of the ZX models. In the early 1970s, he invented a series of calculators designed to be small and light enough to fit in the pocket at a time when most existing models were much larger in size. His daughter Belinda said he died at home in London last morning after a long illness.
And that's a wrap of the news. Thank you for watching. Good night.